We get it rolling right now with John Adams, the longtime columnist for the Knoxville News Sentinel and Gannett Sports. He's all over the place. He's fantastic. John Adams, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Dave. A bit overstated intro, though.
I like to come in and just throw heat from the beginning, John. That's how I roll.
That's cool, but I'm not that good.
I think you're pretty good. You're looking
okay.
good.
Well, that's better. I'm pretty good. He's okay. Yeah.
All right, John, we want to get right to it. And we want to kick some things around. John's going to join us on a regular, semi-regular basis based off his schedule because he gets like 38 weeks of vacation. So we'll see when he can join us. But John is with us. John knows UT, and John happened to be in Louisiana recently. So he has a good feel for what LSU is doing from an NIL standpoint. And let's begin with that instead of the Alabama talk. Let's begin, John, with NIL and how it appears to me that Tennessee and LSU, based off our conversation, are doing the best in the entire SEC when it comes to NIL. And you wrote about it recently. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Dave, I think what both of those programs seem to be committed to is a broad base. It's not just football or men's basketball. They're putting NIL money into women's basketball. They're putting money into baseball. That was evident with the recent spate of transfers going into this season in baseball. 3 of the top transfers, it came down to the decision was either Tennessee or LSU. 2 picked LSU, 1 picked Tennessee. Then you've seen it again with women's basketball. Kim Mulkey won a national championship basically through transfers. Not all programs are spending that kind of NIL money on those sports, and I think it's obviously those fan bases want to win in everything. LSU in particular. When I was in Baton Rouge, you couldn't drive a mile on the interstate without seeing personal injury attorney Gordon McKernan on a billboard. He's very involved in LSU's NIL, so they're in pretty good shape. And so I guess the more accidents there are and the more suits he wins, the better off LSU sports will be.
I guess so. So did you put some people in the wall, or did you see any LSU fans putting people in the wall?
No, but they do drive kind of crazy through town there.
Yeah, that could be a reason for that. John's appearance brought to you in part by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Hit that like and subscribe button. Integrity matters for that HVAC unit. And you're going to have some people that are going to come out and say, hey, you've just got to replace it. Well, that's thousands of dollars. Maybe it just needs a part or some coolant. Integrity matters, 50 years in Knoxville. City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. John, I see where you're coming from in terms of supporting the other sports. But as a businessman, you look at it and you say, it's pretty much football and men's basketball that are going to generate revenue. Why do you think it's important that Tennessee or LSU or whoever support secondary non-revenue sports?
Well, it's not for everybody, but LSU's women program averaged over 8,000 fans a game, a home game. So Angel Reese, the star player on the championship team, first team All-American, made $1.3 million off NIL. So the fans are supporting this. Kim Mulkey's probably the biggest attraction in Baton Rouge right now. She had a press conference and told folks that they needed to build a new arena for basketball, either that or upgrade and renovate the PMAC, Pete Maravich Assembly Center. So she's got leverage, and people listen to what she says. So maybe LSU will have a better arena soon, at least a renovated one. But yeah, there's interest there. The same way LSU has long been a huge place for fan interest in baseball. And we're seeing that at Tennessee now. Tennessee has a history in women's basketball because of Pat Summitt. that's obviously declined in recent years. But the baseball program, because of Tony Vitello, people are willing to invest in it, not just with their interest and emotions, but financially. So we'll see how it works out.
John, I want to stick with football related to NIL and talk a little LSU, because I had known for a while about Tennessee being ahead of the curve in NIL. I didn't know LSU was right up there with them. And Dave knows where I come from this. I felt like LSU was the easiest place to win at in college football. And now they have a coach who is actually a pretty smart game planner, something they haven't had in 20 years. And now they have according to you, a great NIL initiative. How scary is LSU football looking for the future, given those three things?
Well, Caleb, you saw what happened last season. I mean, Brian Kelly came in there. There was a reason he moved from Notre Dame to LSU. Obviously, he thought if Les Miles and Ed Orgeron can win championships there, I can, and so can probably half my family. So he comes in there, and he's aware of what it takes. When you look at what he's done, he's combined everything. He's got the NIL behind him. He's raised interest in LSU football because I think the fans see the potential there. Then he's also been after transfers. That's how he was able to make, just like Mulkey in basketball, he was able to make win the SEC West mainly through transfers. So, yeah, you're right. The potential there is tremendous. And you go back to why Nick Saban left Michigan State for LSU many years ago. It was because Louisiana put as many there per capita, as many guys in the NFL as any state. And that was a big factor in his decision. His agent, Jimmy Sexton, told me that it was a crucial factor. He knew he could win there. Brian Kelly sees the same thing. And right now, I think I'd pick LSU in the West over Alabama.
Yeah, I'm right there too. Because I want to transition with that on your thoughts on this. I think that LSU long term is potentially the dynasty of college football, given these things. I don't think Alabama's going away though. But what about this year? How much trouble is Alabama football in, given this quarterback situation? They seem desperate.
Yeah, when you take a questionable transfer, questionable talent-wise from Notre Dame in the last minute, it was basically sounding an alarm, raising a red flag, and saying we're in trouble. It doesn't matter how you try to spin it. I'm sure Alabama fans can say, oh, man, we got the guy that picked apart South Carolina's defense in Ty Buckner. Okay, we'll see how that works out in the SEC West. I just thought you can't – I don't think Alabama football is unraveling by any stretch. You look at another number one ranked recruiting class, but it underscores the importance of quarterbacks in today's game. You just can't afford to make a mistake and get left have a void there at that position. If you're trying to win championships, you can still win 8, 9, 10 games even. But you go back, and a couple of years ago, Ty Simpson was a 5-star recruit. That's whom Alabama signed as its future quarterback. He's obviously not that now, or you wouldn't need a transfer from Notre Dame. And you wouldn't be thinking, I mean, Jalen Milroe is obviously ahead of him. And so Ty Simpson, if you make a mistake like that, you need to rectify it through the transfer portal. So I'm wondering, why didn't Alabama make this move earlier? Why didn't it go after Sam Hartman, who transferred to Notre Dame? There were better options, or even Devin Leary, who transferred to Kentucky from NC State. You just can't get cut short at that position now.
That's interesting you say that, because Caleb and I got in a discussion of whether or not Alabama is on the decline, whether or not that move was desperate in picking up a quarterback from Notre Dame, Buckner. So it sounds like to me that you think that move was a little bit desperate, but that Alabama is not on the decline. I think they are on the decline just based off the team I watched last year. And I think if they don't have Bryce Young, there's one or two more losses on that record. I think they are on the decline. But, John, we were talking yesterday, and you don't necessarily see it that way.
No, I agree with you. That didn't look like an Alabama team last season. It didn't look like a Nick Saban team. Too many mistakes. If not for Bryce Young, it loses 4 games. It had truly a great, one of their greatest Alabama's greatest quarterbacks ever. But those mistakes, the fumbles, the turnovers, the penalties, some really stupid penalties. Now, I look at Nick Saban's track record. Whenever he slipped, he's come back with a vengeance. And that's why I'm saying I'm not sure Alabama's in decline right now. I think Nick Saban will get it right. But that's a fair take. He's older now. He's closer to the finish line as a coach. But his track record still says he will fix this.
It does say that, and he's taken advantage of the transfer portal with Jahmyr Gibbs, and I can't imagine what Alabama's skill position guys would have been last year without him. John, and he is recruiting well, but to me, this is whether or not they're on the decline. There is just too much of a mountain to climb with NIL, his grasp of that, the transfer portal. And listen, I'm sure he's doing a great job, but we've already talked about Tennessee and LSU are probably doing the best 2 jobs in the SEC in NIL. To me, it just seems too mighty of a mountain to climb. And I don't see him. I guess that's what we're discussing. Does he win another national championship or not? And I would, at this point, especially with Kirby Smart there in Georgia, I just don't see it. I don't see him winning another championship. You?
Well, I think you would have to say the odds are against it. But again, he just had Bryce Young as a quarterback. He's had a series of game-changing quarterbacks through the years. So Tua for one, Mac Jones had a great year with Alabama. A lot of these programs, before you can count them out, you always have to factor in the possibility that they will sign a future first-round draft pick as a quarterback. And I think if Alabama does that, let's just go back and say, well, what if Ty Simpson would have been the real deal? It's too early maybe to count him out now, but he's not what those other quarterbacks that preceded him at Alabama have been. So if he'd been the real deal, if he'd have been even a Jalen Hurts who came in and started as a freshman, and Tua Tagovailoa who came in and won a national championship game as a freshman, if you get that kind of quarterback, everything changes. But when I look at Alabama right now, I don't just see the quarterback not being what you are accustomed to at Alabama, but also the receiving core. When we talk about last season's team, I mean, look back on all those drop passes. They drop way too many passes. Their receiving core is not what it used to be, and there's no Najee Harris running the ball and jumping over defenders. At all those positions, the skill positions, I don't see great playmakers at Alabama right now.